Hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Jim Patterson from Tivity. Joining me today is my colleague Matthew Willy, also from Tivity. We'll be telling you more about our company and our offerings later in the presentation. But for now, today our topic is Next Gen PSA, announcing Microsoft Project Service Automation. In it, we'll be discussing the needs and challenges of professional services organizations and how an integrated PSA solution can address them and provide significant improvements in performance and to the bottom line. We will also demonstrate how Microsoft Project Service Automation works in action. Before we get started on the webinar, we have a few quick logistics to go over with you. First off, we will not be opening the line for questions. All lines will be muted during the webinar. However, we will answer questions that are captured in the chat and question panel throughout today's presentation, should you have any. So please put those into the GoToWebinar panel. Also, you can feel free to email us directly. We'll be giving you our contact information later in the presentation, and we'll be happy to answer your questions as well. We'll be happy to do so. Also, if for some reason you get distracted or pulled away during the webinar, no need to worry. We will be recording this and distributing a recording of the presentation and the slides to everyone that registered for the webinar today. So with that, let's get started. Organizations can really start providing transformative service using Project Service Automation from Microsoft. Project Service Automation, or PSA, is defined as an end-to-end solution that extends Microsoft Dynamics CRM and provides a single system, a single integrated system of customer engagement. And in that customer engagement cycle really involves project sales, resourcing, delivering, and billing. If you look at the chevrons down at the bottom, you can see that it includes these major functional areas: managing opportunities, project planning, resource management, team collaboration, time and expenses, customer billing, and then all the analytics and integration that goes along with that. And we'll be covering each of these topics both through conceptual topics and through actual demonstration of the solution. So what is the business case for PSA, or Professional Services Automation? Well, if you haven't noticed, we are really now an economy of project-based, people-centric services businesses worldwide. If you look at the chart over to the left, if you think about the companies that actually succeed or dominate during any era, it really changes over time. If you look back in the early 1900s, through the Industrial Revolution through 1960, you could really define that as the age of manufacturing, where mass production and people that mastered that are the companies that succeeded. And you look at the examples of Ford and RCA and GE and Boeing. Not that they're not all successful today, but that was the emergence of their success. Post-1960 through 1990, you could say that we moved into the age of distribution, where the economy really transformed, and the people that exceeded and made leaps in that time were really ones that made innovations in distribution in the way global connections and transportation system made distribution more effective within those organizations. And you can cite companies like Walmart and Toyota and others that really excelled and made their leaps in that era. Then from 1990 through 2010, you could say that that was the age of information, with connected PC and supply chains and information flow that dominated. And the people that leveraged and took advantage of these advances really made their leaps in that era. We look at Amazon.com or Google or even Intuit with all the online services that are out there, really made their mark and made their leaps in that era. Today, from 2010 and beyond, you could say that we're in the age of the customer, where we have empowered buyers who are demanding new levels of customer focus or customer obsession by providers out there of services and other products. Contenders in this space include people like Facebook, IBM, Best Buy, and Apple, who really create buzz and focus on the customer as part of their overall mission. In a more services-based economy, we're going to find that businesses rely on PSA solutions for their core business processes. Organizations like that may be the lifeblood or the core, as opposed to, say, an ERP system. Things that are important in those solutions are things like going from quoting and proposals to cash, to when we actually realize business and revenue from those. Overall resource management, resource utilization. Also time capture and billing, since the providing of those services and billing for those services is the lifeblood of our revenue streams and our cash flows. Also, with the nature of the services business, where globalization, centralization, modernization, and streamlining of overall operations are key drivers for PSA, for services organizations to be more competitive in their marketplace and be able to deliver on an effective basis to their organizations and be profitable. In spite of all that, 30% of organizations have not yet invested in PSA in the services realm, according to SPI research. Still, many are relying on spreadsheets and other manual or semi-manual static methods in order to make those things happen for them. Still yet, often there's a hodgepodge of point solutions, spreadsheets, and email that organizations try to cobble together in order to make that all work. This is where PSA can really make improvements for organizations. So what are some of the key challenges facing professional services organizations? Well, with the global reach and the global nature of the economies that they're working in, economic instability and political unrest around the world can often mean inconsistent global performance, not only from an execution perspective and the ability to deliver through geographical diversity, but also with the economies and the economics around those that can affect the bottom line as far as returns and profitability. Also, more demanding clients. More and more, we have a more sophisticated base who are more attuned to what's available, and with the internet, have access to more information and become more educated at the time they start to buy, meaning that they have a much more broad set of solution offerings available to them. They insist on true demonstrable client value for the services they get. Just regular level of effort services may not be sufficient. They want to know what they're going to get for value for every chunk of effort that we sell them from a services organization perspective. They're also demanding shorter project durations, and more, rather than time and materials, many of them are starting to demand fixed price deliveries, which put additional pressure on professional services organizations to be able to execute on a profitable basis. Also, we're looking at a potential emerging talent cliff with an aging population and youth in our population that are less interested in science, technology, education, and math. We're really looking at a potential impending talent shortage in certain skill sets and areas, meaning that organizations are going to become more and more competitive for that talent to be able to deliver the services that they want to deliver to their client base worldwide. From a project delivery challenge perspective, everybody is expecting improved quality, faster completions. Scope changes happen faster as people are using more agile approaches to doing things. And this really intensifies the need for project management discipline and quality control measures within an organization, meaning you really have to get good at these things and be able to manage and monitor these things quickly and in a timely fashion in order to compete in the marketplace. And then we really live in an era now of regulatory and financial governance and compliance, meaning that continual accounting changes on the global basis, complex international tax codes, etc., make accounting and reporting much more difficult and compliance with all those different jurisdictions for a global services business. So being able to track these things and have that all managed for you within a systematic way becomes much more important. Overall, these market pressures and many other demands increase focus on efficient selling, delivery, and management for organizations. Bottom line is all professional services organizations have to keep getting better. So let's talk about project service automation as a solution and what it looks like and what are the components, just conceptually prior to the demo. If you think about project service automation and the fact that it is the core lifeblood of professional services organizations from their operations perspective and systems perspective, it really touches everybody in the process. All these different personas get impacted and have a role in using project service automation or PSA. From the COO or practice director that manages the operations of delivering services to the client base, to the account manager who needs to have successful relations and make sure that there's a successful customer experience with their accounts and understanding how we're performing with those accounts and whether or not we're profitable in our endeavors with those accounts. The project manager who needs to execute and is given and tasked with the responsibility of delivering the projects that we win with our customers and be able to do so on a successful basis on all those dimensions, scope, cost, and quality. Also the resource manager, the ability to provide the right resources at the right time for these services projects and be able to make sure that we're utilizing them properly so that our resource utilization rates are good so that we can have a profitable organization and have the right mix of resources to us for the contracts that we win. And then for the team members, these are the folks that on where the rubber meets the road, where they have to deliver on the services, and they are tasked with getting things accomplished and within a budget of time and effort, and have to feed back their time. They have to feed back their expenses, and they have to be able to collaborate with the rest of the organization so that we can see that we are progressing towards the goal and towards a successful engagement with each and every one of our clients. And then from the end customer perspective, they need to have visibility into what's going on. They need to ensure that they get timely and accurate billing. All the different things that make the customer experience for us a success. So in that relationship, we can continue and expand our engagements and our relationships with each and every one of our customers. Now, project service automation does leverage the CRM platform in the Microsoft cloud. That meaning we have a mobile workforce and mobile enablement to be able to participate with mobile devices like tablets and phones. Having this stuff available in the cloud means that we don't have to maintain infrastructure, yet we can have the reach to go out and have a global workforce and a global client base to participate with these systems in an easy fashion, and that we have the infrastructure to support that. We had mentioned in our original slide the key functional areas down below, from opportunity management through customer billing. And even though we said that folks are relying on things like spreadsheets solely these days when they're at an early level of maturity in professional services automation, that does not mean that these tools cannot be helpful to contribute information and capabilities towards executing in a project service automation world. So the idea of leveraging these things and these capabilities from a Microsoft tool set are all included in the user experience. So let's talk about the opportunity management piece. Up front, services businesses typically, they're not often choosing their projects. Their projects are in some ways choosing them. They put out proposals, they respond to RFPs and RFQs, they put out bids, and that really builds up a pipeline of potential opportunities that we need to manage. In order to be effective, we want to make sure we put our best foot forward, give ourselves our best opportunity to win, but that also means we need to be effective in managing our leads and then turning those leads into opportunities and then managing that pipeline of opportunities through their life cycle to where they are about to close, and then understanding where our potential needs or resource demands are coming from these opportunities, and then also understanding which of our customers or prospective customers have the biggest opportunities or bang for us as an organization. These are all things from managing an overall sales process that are important, and this opportunity pipeline really is an indicator or a driver for future revenue and success and profitability of the company, and also is a bellwether or a precursor to understanding what our resource needs are going to be in order to execute for our customers. This is all an important part, and what people typically have thought about Microsoft CRM for in a sales management capacity of managing sales operations. But then, at some point, we're going to win some of these bids and some of these proposals, and at that point, we're going to have to execute. Now, typically, there's some crossover here. When you actually put together a proposal or bid, oftentimes you have to think out when you make that bid how you're going to execute and build a preliminary project plan, possibly look at budgeting hours, effort, and cost against those plans as you make the bid. But then should we be lucky enough to win that bid or that proposal, we then have to execute as we proposed or promised to the customer. And at that point, we're going to need a basis to track and execute on that plan within the budgets and the hours that we estimated for those. And then our PSA solution within CRM will allow us to build those plans and manage and track and build to those buckets as we go on through and as we deliver. Also, for more detailed planning, people may use more traditional tools like Microsoft Project that can feed that information and help on the execution on a task level basis and be able to feed that information in. The idea being, using the Microsoft platform, we have a number of different options on how we actually do planning. And then there's the resource management component, the ability to manage a pool of resources, manage skill sets, manage utilization. And this really is from a planning perspective, doing resource capacity planning and forecasting on an outlook based upon our pipeline and our project workload and backlogs that we have, but then also from a perspective of actuals, according to our forecast. How are we burning or expending those resources or utilizing those resources according to plan? The idea that resource utilization piece in a services organization is a key success factor, meaning that we can't overutilize resources and expect to retain people. We also can't underutilize resources and expect to be profitable within an organization. So the idea of being able to have information like this in real time available to you to make quick decisions on staffing and on ways to execute and manage your projects and your engagement efforts is paramount importance to success within the organization. And then there's the team collaboration piece. With distributed workforces, we don't often get face-to-face in a global services type of ecosystem. And so we have distributed teams who need a forum or a place where they can actually collaborate on conversations regarding projects or accounts. Have a common calendar of events, so expectations on timing of events and things within a project or an engagement are common knowledge and easily accessible. All the files and artifacts around these projects and engagements, having them in a central place. A central notebook for meeting minutes and client meetings and things like that, so that everybody has a common knowledge base and understanding of where the project is, what developments are there, what challenges are there. Being able to collaborate in a central forum like this is something that's important to the success of a project, and also when we're time zone challenged by far-flung global projects and teams that may be in Europe or India or United States and all on the same project, the ability to communicate effectively without the limitation of time zone barriers becomes a real key to success. And then while we're executing on these projects, there's the need for team members to report their time and expenses. So time entry that goes along and aligns with the project or engagement work that we've been assigned and provide a seamless, integrated, embedded way to report time against those elements of work or against those projects makes it easy to do that rather than doing it in a separate time reporting system or submitting it via email or spreadsheets. And the same thing holds true with expenses, as oftentimes services business entails travel and living and other expenses as part of the project costs and as part of the execution as a team member. Having these things into a common system really makes it easier to do things from a participation level for the users, but also from the organization to be able to get a complete picture of all aspects of the professional services life cycle and the execution. Also, the ability to do these things with mobility, be able to do time and expenses through mobile devices makes it easier to get these things turned around in a quicker fashion with an increasingly mobile workforce. And then, very importantly, the customer billing. Instead of having some disconnected process where the project management and execution are happening in one system, yet another system has to be the system of record for billing, being able to look at what we've executed on within the PSA system and then have those elements automatically be able to generate invoices based upon the work that's been performed and according to the contract basis that we've engaged on, whether it be things like fixed price, whether it be time and materials, whether it be milestone based, etc., is having invoices come out on that basis allows us to get these things out to the customer quicker, make sure that we're not missing or omitting anything, which often happens with disconnected systems, that things do not get billed or get billed incorrectly and delays payment. And the idea of having this integrated makes the whole process much more efficient, and turning that around to receipt of cash and receipt of payment and revenue for the organization. And then from an analytics and integration perspective, having all of these dimensions of the process into a singular system and a singular integrated system gives us a lot of advantages from a reporting and analytics and decision support perspective. In this case, I'm looking at a dashboard that really is looking at the sales and project aspects of the data that's being maintained and managed by the PSA solution. So for example, we can see how we're doing from a sales perspective over time from month to month, how we're looking at with opportunities that are set to close to get an idea of what the dollar revenue is on that, what our win rates are on Propensal, what's our quote to close ratio on those things, how many opportunities are we looking at, and get an idea of what's coming to understand the health and the demands that are upon us and what we'll be working on in the not too distant future. On top of that, there's a project status dashboard to see the projects that are already in flight and being executed and how we're performing on those things from a schedule, from a resource perspective, cost perspective, etc., or whatever other KPIs are important to your organization. And then as you generate this and turn this into revenue, and you have corresponding costs that are being managed within the solution, you can start getting at your fingertips performance metrics from a financial perspective, understanding what kind of margins we're getting on our engagements for our services, what our revenues are, who our biggest customers are, who our biggest performers or revenue generators may be, and all the financial metrics that are important to us. The idea is that we don't need to go to separate systems. We don't need to export data. We don't have to pull things into spreadsheets and manually generate this type of information, which especially in the small and mid-sized services firms, people are tending to do this on a manual or at least semi-manual basis, and really spending time that could be better spent on other things other than data reduction and creating charts. So that's a little bit of an overview of what you're going to be seeing in the demonstration today, and you'll see that in action with the software itself when I turn this over to Matthew. But just to recap a couple of the PSA benefits. It really is about process maturity, and as services organizations, we should be striving to get better over time, and that our process maturity becomes more integrated, more seamless, and more efficient and effective over time. If you look at the 5 levels of process maturity here, look at where 55% of the marketplace is over on the left here in level 1 and level 2, where heroic, where people just jump in and do whatever ad hoc is needed to get things done and put out fires. Moving that up to functional excellence, where internally you start working on things as teams and at least be able to get things done through informal relations within an organization. 55% of the organizations seem to be in this realm. As you move up through project excellence, through portfolio excellence, and then collaborative excellence, you get increasingly better and get increasingly better returns through that evolution. And the idea is, with a PSA solution in place, you have the enabler and the automation in place to allow us or to enable us to make that trek up the ladder of maturity levels. And it's worthwhile for us to go after that pursuit. Basically, SPI research has found that the top 5%, that collaborative excellence group, the best of best organizations in this realm, show 31% profit as opposed to loss of 2% that typically happens for that bottom 55% in levels 1 and level 2. And maturity is really determined through the alignment and focus within and across functions across the whole organization. Really integrated system along with an integrated, well-oiled process. So if you dig down into the different areas where performance could be measured or where performance is improved over those different levels of maturity, if we look at bid to win ratio that we talked about earlier on, that level 1 basically is looking at 3.7 wins per 10 bids as opposed to up to 5.97 at a level 5 maturity. Deal to pipeline relative to quarterly booking forecast, meaning that your deal pipeline is bigger in relation to your quarterly bookings forecast, where you can get up to a 263% or almost a 3-to-1 pipeline according to greater than your bookings forecast. Employee billable utilization, a lifeblood of making the best use of our billable resources, from level 1 at 63% up to almost 78%. For a level 5 organization. And these things hold true with annual revenue per billable consultant, annual revenue per employee in these organizations. All show significant improvements as you go up the rungs of process maturity. And then most importantly to the organization, project margins and earnings before interest and taxes. Look at the significant improvements that happen as you go up that ladder. So while many of us are not there up at level 5, it's definitely worth our while to focus on this and strive to get better on these dimensions. And hopefully what you'll see today is a solution that will allow you to enable you to make the next steps in going up that ladder. So the future really is about intelligent customer engagement for our services and customer and outward-facing type of projects. The benefits of close alignment between sales and project teams from traditional CRM through project service or PSA. Look at the areas where you can achieve significant increases in those areas. The opportunity for us is that 70% of companies surveyed have not tightly integrated their CRM and project service automation solutions. So even if they don't have them in place, or if they do have them in place, I should say, the fact that they're not tightly integrated provides an opportunity for us to get better, a low-hanging fruit for us to say, here's a way for us to make the next step up that rung in that ladder of maturity. So with that, it's time to turn the session over to Matthew Willy, who will demonstrate the project service automation solution from Microsoft.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm logged in here into Microsoft Dynamics CRM Online, which is sits in with the Office 365 applications. So it's just one of the other applications. You log in with the same username and password, so on and so forth. Within CRM, there are many different components or modules that you can utilize. You can start all the way up front with the different marketing activities that you may be doing, capturing the different leads and such, and generating those leads and campaigns and all of that goes into that. From there, that then moves into the sales area where you get those opportunities that Jim was talking about. And those opportunities, eventually, once they're won, will turn into projects. Later on, when you have people out in the field, as well as if you have just different work requests coming into your organization, you can use field service to actually track those work requests and have people who are available go and grab those, which can help boost up their billability, things of that nature. And once those projects end and you transition those customers more into a support mode, there's even a service module built in that you can utilize to manage the service around all of that. Lastly, then we can gain the voice of the customer and really get feedback from surveys and all different types of methods to be able to gather information from your customers on how are we doing, how is all of this, right? All the way from marketing, all the way to support and everything in between, how are we doing? But today we're really focusing on this project service module. So let's go ahead and jump on into that. So on into project service, the first place I'm going to start is in my opportunities. So we have these different opportunities coming in, and as Jim mentioned, these are really precursors to projects, right? We know that a certain % of these are going to close, especially when they start getting in the later phases and our probability starts getting really high. Hey, we're going to win this, and we think we're going to win this. Estimated close date, is close, that type of a thing. We can actually start to plan at a certain phase. So some organizations will, before this opportunity is even closed, actually have the project created and be able to start building soft resource plans around that project and things of that nature, so we can make sure that once it does close, we're ready to go. and make sure that we're keeping our customers happy and engaged and so on and so forth. Or you can make it so it happens as it's won. So I could come in and on my particular opportunity, I'm going to win this opportunity. I can mark it closed as won. And when you do that, that can then kick off the creation of that particular project, which will kind of take us into the next area. So I have a bunch of won opportunities here. For example, we recently won our VoIP phones opportunity. And so now we're going to go in and we're going to start implementing that and planning that out for the particular customer. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and jump on into projects. So we have a list of all the different projects that we have going on here and lots of different information around those projects. You know, what's the estimated starts and finishes and hours as those are rolling up and things as we start to get into the implementation of these projects. And there's multiple different views in here so you can focus on kind of different areas of the projects and really have one place to go to see all of our projects and how they're doing really. But let's go ahead and drill into one particular project, that VoIP phones project. So I'm going to click on this guy, and so now that that project's been won, one of the very first things that I might do is I'm going to go and make sure that I'm getting my resources for my project. That's one of the very first things we need to do, right? Make sure that we're getting the right resources to work on this project with the right skills and so on and so forth. When this project's created based off of the project type, you can actually utilize a template to automatically build out your plan for you. So if we're doing similar projects over and over again, we can have a plan already laid out with specific, say, phases and tasks under those different phases. And we can even have generic resources assigned to those particular tasks already. So we know that this task needs to be done by an architect, this task needs to be done by a developer, you know, so on and so forth. And from there, it makes it really, really easy then to get the resources that you need, right? It already created this, and it says how much resources we need. We can then come in and update start dates and end dates and, you know, play around with this a little bit different and move the start date around to the project, you know, and those types of things. From there, we're ready to go. We're ready for either the project manager to go find a resource themselves, or if you have more of a resource manager type of a role within your organization, that person can then utilize the system to find the right resource and basically replace these generics with actual named people. So what does that look like? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to go into my project team. So based off of that project schedule that we just saw there, basically, it builds the team out for me. And I have one generic resource here that I haven't fulfilled yet. I fulfilled all the other ones. And that's a developer. So I need a developer to work on this project. And we haven't yet fulfilled that. I haven't been given an actual developer to work on this particular project. So it makes it super easy to do that and to find the right people. All you do is select your role here, like my developer, and then I can click on hard book or soft book if I just want to soft book them, that type of a thing. And if I want to hard book them and say, yep, this is who I'm going to use for this project, I'm ready to go, this is for sure, then I come in and notice it pulls up this nice view here for me that shows me all of my developers. It's already filtering out for developer. From there, if there were any other requirements, skills, specific skills, HTML or whatever it might be, you can filter those down. You can look in certain teams, business units, organizational units, you know, all these different types of filters that you can utilize really just to find the right resources. And then I see those resources here and I can see who's available. So some people are over allocated within specific periods of time here, so I can see some red on some of these people. Some people are not over allocated, they have some availability. I'm looking for a full-time resource, and we have some people that don't have any work to do coming up in the near future. We want to make sure we keep them billable and keep their utilization up. So I could come in, select someone here, like say Lawanda, come in and hit book, and then that's going to fulfill that particular resource with that person. So now I don't just have a generic placeholder sitting there. I have an actual person who's assigned to my project who had availability, who's going to get ready to start taking on some of those tasks, and it'll automatically then switch out that person on all those different tasks that generic resource was assigned. So it makes it a really quick, nice, easy process really to find the right people for the right jobs, that type of a thing. From there, then people can log in and they can actually see the different work and the bookings that they're assigned to. So if I come back in here under my project service area, I'm going to then go into my bookings and tasks. So I'm switching to more of a team member, you know, I'm that developer or whoever it might be. I'm logging into the system. I got notified, hey, you've been booked for this particular project. You've been assigned these particular tasks. I also have a view within the system where I can come in and I can see that, okay, I've been booked for VoIP phones for 12 hours this particular week over these 4 days, and here are the 2 different tasks that I'm being asked to do. So I can very quickly, very easily see what I'm supposed to be doing. If I click on this, I can get more details as well as update, progress, percent complete, things of that nature. And then at the end of the week, I can also fill out my time. So I can come in here and I can go into time entries. And on those same tasks and projects and such that I've been assigned to, I can come in, I can fill out my time here in a very nice calendar type of view, which makes it really visual and easy to see, where I'm spending my time. Fill in my calendar view here, submit that, and then that's going to go out for approval so that people can then, either the project manager of that project or more like a timesheet manager, resource manager, someone of that nature can go in and approve that time depending on how we set it up. And they can approve that time, which will then eventually flow back into the invoice dollars for that particular project if those are billable hours, which we'll see a little bit later. So it makes it really quick and easy to come in and fill in my time. You can even copy from your last week if it was very similar and just make some updates. There's a lot of nice little features built in to make it quick and easy for people to get their time in the system without having to do it in multiple systems or go to a whole nother system and everything looks different and so on and so forth. I can also then put in my expenses. So, say I traveled somewhere for this project and I have hotel costs and, I took the customer out to dinner or whatever it might be, those types of things. I can put in all of my different project-related expenses into the system as well, which will then roll into our invoicing as well automatically. So it makes that a much easier process. You can attach receipts to these expenses. There's an approval process that can be around that, so people can go in and actually approve these and say, yes, 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 this looks good, perfect, that kind of a thing. Makes it really easy and quick to be able to then track your expenses as well. All right, so from there, we got resources on our project. Those resources are starting to work on the project. Now, as more of a project manager, I really want to start managing the actual execution of that project and see what's going on and track issues and things of that nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into projects here, and I'm going to go into my VoIP phones project. And in that VoIP phones project, I have a workflow that I can see as we're going through this project. I can kind of see the different phases, and as you go from each phase to the next, we can require certain information and such. Right now, I'm active. I'm working on this project. So as we're putting in timesheet hours, the progress is going to pop up over here. Also, there's costs behind those timesheet hours and the expenses and all those types of things, and so my cost consumption is going to go up here comparatively to my original budget for this particular project. And I can see the details of that. How many hours have been spent? How many hours are remaining? What's the estimated cost? What's the actual cost we've spent so far and the remaining? Those types of things. And we can utilize that to kind of keep track of our cost as well as our work. Down below, we also have a status section here where project managers can provide status around the project. So we can have calculated indicators, things like schedule performance, which is calculated based on the actual project schedule and how we're doing and progressing on that. But we can also have manual indicators in here, say like overall project status, so that a project manager can kind of say, based off of my gut, based off of all the information I see, or I think it's green or yellow or red. That could also be calculated too. It's all configurable, so we could just change settings to kind of make that work the way that makes the most sense for you. But generally something of that nature seems to work out pretty well for our customers. So down below then, we can see that you can put in narrative. So, what work did I perform this period? Well, instead of just showing the different tasks that are completed, I can actually put in a little narrative, a little blurb about, we completed this, I think we're doing really well, whatever it might be. What are we planning to do in the next period? Any other additional comments of why we're in this status? Those types of things. Just providing a little bit more narrative around this project. That'll all roll up into our different project status reports. So we'll be able to see that kind of pulled together into that later on as well. You can also track issues and changes and things of that nature. So I have different issues that may arise as I'm going through my project. I want to track those. I want to possibly escalate those in some scenarios. I want them to possibly show up in my project status reports. And so I can see across projects, what are the different issues? Are we working on them? What do we need to do to get these done and make sure that we don't lose sight of these? And we can assign those to people and so on and so forth and manage all the issues around our particular project. Then from a change perspective, it happens, we're working on the project, customer requests something different than what we originally planned. We want to put a change management type process in place so that we can track those changes. We can have approvals around those changes to make sure that that's okay. And a change can then even be converted back into an opportunity. If they're asking for, say, a change in scope, that's going to change the cost of this particular project, we may create another opportunity, and then once that opportunity is won, it can create either a separate project or feed into this existing project as a kind of a new contract that's attached to this project. And so that process can kind of keep happening, as we're always going through projects. Scope creep seems to happen, especially, and it's not always from our side. A lot of times it's from the customer side. But at least you can have a process around that and manage that better and turn that into more revenue for your business. Down below, then, I can even track different activities around this project. If we're sending out emails and having conversations, it can track that. Any different activities that are going on, phone calls, tasks, whatever it might be, little to-dos, you can throw things in there of that nature. You can track notes. There's a OneNote integration built into this, so I can, all my meeting minutes and things of that nature I might want to throw into OneNote around this project and really keep that all together and in one place and all on really this nice project dashboard that I can see everything that's going on. So from there, we're executing on our project. The other kind of cool thing is this all ties in with Office 365, as I mentioned, and it actually ties in with Office 365 groups. So what can happen is every time you create a new project, it'll create a new Office 365 group. And if, for those of you that don't know, what an Office 365 group is it's really a way of giving a place for people to be able to communicate and collaborate. And so we have these different people that are part of this group, which are the people that are working on this project in this case. And we can have different conversations within this particular group, and we can track those conversations, and that'll notify people when people post new things and such, pictures and notifications. Hey, we updated this, whatever it might be. Just kind of keeping everybody in the loop. You can also upload files to here. So as we create different documents and deliverables and things like that for the project, we can store those all in here, and that'll notify people when new things come, and they can share them with people. There's a calendar built in, so we can keep track of key events and meetings and whatever it might be that ties all in with Outlook very nicely. The notebook, as we talked about, the OneNote notebook. And there's even the Office 365 planner, which you can utilize kind of a Kanban board type of interface to be able to manage and track those different tasks for your project if you're looking for it in more of a Kanban board type of format. And you can use that around your particular project to kind of manage the detailed work more efficiently as well. So the groups thing really ties in nicely and ties back to that whole project, and you can access it from there and get that whole experience from a collaboration experience as well. So also then, okay, so we're working on our project, we're putting in time, we're updating status, we're doing all these things, uploading documents and working on it. At some point, we need to generate an invoice, right? We need to get paid for all this work that we've been doing. So I'm going to go in here now, and I'm going to go back into the project service and click on project contracts. And so for each project, you can have one or multiple contracts, and the contract really just says, what are the terms of this deal, rates that we're charging, how much we were allocated to spend, those types of things. And from that contract, I can then come in and I can automatically generate an invoice. So I come in and I say, okay, here's my contract, and I'm going to say create an invoice. And when I do that, it's going to go and it's going to look at all of the timesheet hours that have been put in for this project for the last kind of period of time since we've last generated an invoice. It's going to look at those expenses that we've been putting in. And it's going to automatically build this and say, okay, you're going to bill $6,000 since the last timesheet period or whatever it might be. And it has some other information in here like invoice numbers and all these types of things, and you can get more details. If you want to apply a discount after the fact, you can. So you can kind of override this, but it gives you a nice starting point, so you don't have to go try to build this all from scratch each time and go look up the information and run reports and all this. It just kind of gives you all the information you need right here. You can even tie this in and create different templates, say Word or PDF templates, so that you can then export this into Word or PDF and have it send across and send that invoice, and look something more like a standard invoice, but it's just taking all that information from that invoice, pulling it into, say, Word or PDF or whatever it might be, and then that can be sent on to the customer so that they get more of kind of a formatted type invoice that they may be used to, that type of a thing. So invoices can be captured once they're actually paid. Then we can mark that invoice as paid, and that's going to all roll back up into the project so I can see my invoice dollars and such. As well as in a lot of organizations, there's a role that's more of an account manager type of a role. And for account manager, I want to be able to come in and see all of my different customers that I'm in, all my different accounts basically that I'm managing, and come in and see my different customers. And I may want to see a view like this where I can see, okay, who's the primary contact for that account? How many open opportunities do we have? Is this looking like a hot account that I have a lot of open opportunities that I need to start attacking to make sure that we're closing those and getting that win rate up? As well as then I can see what's the dollar amount that we estimate those opportunities are, and so we can start to get an idea of where we want to spend our efforts from an opportunity perspective. But then I can also see how many active projects are going on. We got 2 active projects going on for this account right now. One of those projects is at risk. And me as the account manager, that affects me because if there's a project at risk, it's going to make it harder for me to close these opportunities. So I might want to get involved to help manage that relationship, figure out what's going on, and make sure that we're doing what we need to be able to get those dollars and continue to grow that account over time. I can then see the estimated costs for all the different projects for this particular account and the invoice dollars rolling up, so we can see if we're on track, if we're profitable really. Are we spending more money than we're making? Those types of things. And I can also keep track of how many active issues and cases that there are for these projects. Cases being support tickets, that type of a thing. If I click into this account, then I can really start to drill in and get even more information, more details around all of that. So I can come in, I can see some of the same information here, like the open opportunities and revenue and such, some information about the account, posts and activities and notes that I may have put in over time or other people may have put in around this account, so I can get an idea of the history and what's going on. And if I scroll down here, getting into the account management info, I can actually see the related projects to this account. There's my VoIP phones project that's going on right now. And as things are happening, that information automatically rolls back into here, and I can see that progress and the costs and all these different things rolling up. I can get insight into those issues that are occurring and see what issues are happening and be able to understand that and know that when I go to talk to the customer about the opportunities and kind of use that to gauge how I'm going to handle different situations and such, really just giving me more information into what's going on. And then I can also see the change requests here, and that maybe are turning into those different opportunities that I'm going to help try to push forward and manage and make sure that we're growing this account as well. So you can come in and you can get lots of more information, and even the opportunities themselves. Get lots of information around this account all from one place, rolling up from the different projects and issues and all of this, all rolling back to here. So as an account manager, I have a nice easy place I can go to get all the information that I need. So from there, as all of this is going on, there are different reports and dashboards and such that I would be interested in depending on my role within the organization. So now what I'm going to do is pop into dashboards here and show how managers and executives and people in general, project managers, whoever it might be, can come in and see different dashboards based off of their role and figure out what information is going to give me the best value so that I can make better decisions. So for example, say I'm a practice manager. I'm kind of sitting above the services organization. I'm looking at it from a very high level and trying to understand how are we doing. I can see things like costs by month, gross margin by month. As our margin going up over time, is it going down over time? And I can start to look into that and figure out how we're going to get that up over time, right? Sales by month, utilization by role. Our developers are doing really well, but maybe our architects aren't being utilized properly. So we can look at possibly hiring more developers to handle the demand there, maybe getting rid of some architects to clear that up, or looking at opportunities to try to pull in the pipeline to be able to have enough work to get these architects, or just in general figuring out what's going on. So you can get a lot of information out of here. All of this actually ties in with Power BI. If you're not familiar with Power BI, Power BI is another Office 365 application that allows you to build really rich reports, dashboards, and charts and such. And so we've built a report pack on top of Project Service that allows you to get a lot of great information around these different projects. For example, this particular one is a project portfolio status dashboard. So if I'm a portfolio manager or someone who really just wants to see across all of our projects and how are they doing from a cost perspective, from a status perspective, from a schedule perspective, etc., I can come in here and I can get a good idea of what's going on. And if I click on any of these particular charts, then it's going to drill me into kind of the full report where I can then start to chop and filter and drill in on certain pieces of information and really get a lot more details if I choose to do so. So once I'm drilled into here, I can see I have all these different projects going on. I have them here grouped by portfolio, but it could be grouped however you want. I can see 3 of these projects are at risk, 22 are over budget, 22 are behind schedule. We have some active risks and overdue issues and things of that nature. And from here, I can start to chop and filter it. So I can come in and I just want to look at projects for a certain department, or I just want to look at projects where overall health is, say, red or yellow. We're looking at projects that are having problems, that type of a thing. And so I can really focus in on the information that I want and get a high level of what's going on. From here, I can drill into my different tabs and start to get a better idea of exactly what's happening. From a schedule perspective, what's our duration variances? How far are we off? Those types of things. How many milestones are overdue? How many tasks are overdue? And start to get an idea of really where our problem projects are, the ones that are really far off, and focus in on those. I can see a Gantt view of these different projects. I can look at costs across these different projects, budgets versus actual costs and what's remaining, costs over time. And with a lot of these reports, they're drill-in capable. So for example, this is looking at costs by quarter. I can see my budget versus my actual costs. But if I come here and I click on, say, quarter 3, it'll drill in and like zoom into that quarter so I can see that. You can also drill out, maybe I want to see it by year or whatever it might be. So it's a very visual, nice, easy way to get into the data that you want to see, right? You have your work summaries, so I can see, we estimated we were going to spend this much work. We're actually spending this much work. What's remaining? What's the variance? How far are we off? Those types of things. And really start to drill into all the different areas, into risks, into issues, all these different things that we may be tracking around our projects. Then from more of a resource manager type of perspective, there's a full-on resource report pack in here, so I can drill into different resources and figure out which of my different roles are available, and work versus capacity, so who's over allocated, who's not, from different groups and roles and things. Committed versus planned versus actuals. We have initially estimated we were going to spend this much, then we forecasted this, but then we actually spent that. And there's lots of different reports in here, and we could drill into that and go into all those different reports. But from a resource manager perspective, there's a full-on barrage of reports that you can utilize to get really good visibility into that. And then lastly, timesheet reports. So we're putting in all these different timesheets. We want to do things like timesheet compliance. We want to see where we're spending our time, different resources, billable, non-billable. Hopefully we're keeping our billable up and not doing too much non-billable work, things of that nature. And I can click and drill into these and get more detailed and focus on certain roles or certain departments or certain projects, right? Those types of things. But really this just allows me to get visibility into everything that's going on from a timesheet perspective. Lastly, if I'm more of a higher level like executive or someone of that nature, and maybe I never even log into CRM, I don't necessarily need to, I could actually just utilize Power BI to tap into all of this CRM data, and we can have pre-built reports and dashboards. So I can come straight into Power BI and I can see at a high level how are we doing, gross margins, targets versus actuals, and get at a high level, very specific what's going on. But what's really cool in Power BI is that you can even just ask questions about your data. They call it natural language query. So I can come in and, for example, there's something here that I don't see, so I want to see that. And without having to be the most technical user in the world, I can come in and I can ask a question. So I can say, I want to show gross margin, let's say. And notice as I'm typing, it's kind of helping me and it's suggesting things to me. And I want to show gross margin by customer, that kind of a thing. So this was a chart that didn't exist yet, a visualization that didn't exist yet. And it just created it just by me asking a question. So it makes it really quick and easy to do that. And you may have noticed it was changing as I was typing things. So it tries to come up with the visualization it thinks is best based off of the data you've chosen. But from there you can say, well, actually I want it to be a pie chart. And so I could change it to a pie chart. Or I want it to be a column chart and I can change it to that. Or, whatever you might want, a tree map. Get it the way that you want it, showing it the way you want. If you want to get a little bit more fancy, you can pop open the editor over here and you can change fonts and sizes of things and colors and all different types of things of that nature. But if it's good enough for you and you like it that way, then you can hit pin visual, pin that back to your dashboard. So now when I come back in and I go into my customer profitability dashboard, at the bottom here is that new visual that I just created just by typing in really like a search that you might type in the web, in Google or Bing or whatever it might be. and I can drag that around and make it bigger and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the idea is all of this information that we're tracking that's allowing us to make sure that we're driving revenue and all these things can all then be rolled back up into these dashboards and accessed very easily so we can get visibility into what's going on. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jim for just a few more closing slides, and then we'll let you guys go for the day. So Jim, here's over to you. There you go.
Thank you, Matthew. Hopefully everybody saw the different roles and personas we talked about, how there's tools and capabilities integrated within the project service solution that addresses those. So let me go to show my screen. And let's talk about how to deploy a solution like that. And we'll talk about a little bit how Tivity can help with that. Tivity, what we are as a company, is a full-service one-stop shop for project and business management solutions, which include a focus on project and work management and professional services automation. We've been a Microsoft Gold Certified Partner. We've been doing this for over 20 years. What we do is we help customers by getting them up fast, time to solution, and time to return very quickly with pre-built business solutions that get them up quickly and realizing the benefits of these solutions earlier rather than later. We do these in a low-risk approach by using the online infrastructures of the Microsoft Cloud for software as a service and infrastructure as a service solutions. And our solutions are built on the Microsoft Cloud technology, so the scalability and reliability are all there. From a one-stop shop perspective, we can provide you with all the professional services for deployment. We have education and training, from training classes to our online university, our learning management system, and our on-demand webinars that people can learn from. We also have customer success and support for your implementation to supplement what you may get from Microsoft. And also from a business optimization perspective, we help people to improve in their processes and go up those maturity ladders and help map these solutions to where they're at, meet them where they're at, and help them build a roadmap for improvement. So all these things are things that Tivity can help you with. But it's not a one-size-fits-all proposition. What people want or expect from an implementation or what their budgets are may vary. So we have different approaches. We have basic implementations that have pre-built solution templates. So a lot of the things that you saw today, we have implementation packages where they're pre-configured, with instead of configuring these things from scratch like we've never done it before, to get you up with the basics already configured to reduce the cost of implementation. We also have a Kickstart implementation that takes those templates and through a build-to-order questionnaire process gets to tailor it somewhat for you for your business process, but not have it to be a totally custom configuration for your organization. Once again, getting you a low-cost implementation and a quick actualization of actually using the system and a quick adoption. And then we can actually do very custom implementations or very complex implementations with our select implementations as well. And we do this across a wide variety of industries and vertical markets that we have experience in. And this really includes this Kickstart process, really helping you test drive or trial the product, socialize and gain executive buy-in within your organization, really do an evaluation of the tool before you buy it, and then the Kickstart deployment really puts these templated methodologies in place for you to get you into production very quickly. Really, the time to value and startup costs are much more reduced with our approach, and it's shown that over time and over our many years of experience. We have some upcoming PSA-related webinars. On September 29th, we're going to have a topic called Align Sales and Services to Accelerate Growth with Microsoft Dynamics Project Service. On October 6th, we're going to have Grow Profitably with Microsoft Dynamics Project Service, a better way to manage resources, client expectations, and increase margins. And October 12th, we're going to do Resource Management Just Got Easier. So really, in some of the areas we gave you the high-level overview today, we're going to do deeper dives into each of these areas within the project service solution. So please go to tivity.com/webinars and you can register and sign up for those. Also, as we do as a normal course of business, we offer our ability to do an initial PSA assessment for your organization and roadmap for you, and also assist you and support you through a trial of project service. We can get it stood up for you and enabled and then support you along the way to make sure you have the best experience through that. If you'd like to do something like that or schedule an individual demonstration that's addressing your specific landscape, reach out to us at info@tivity.com and we'll tell you how you can reach out to us directly if you'd like to as well. Once again, my name is Jim Patterson. I'm in a business development capacity with Tivity, and you can reach me at jpatterson@tivity.com. Matthew Willy is our product guru, one of our product gurus, I should say, and mwilly@tivity.com is a way to reach him as well. A lot of information on our websites. We'll send you this deck with this contact information later today. But with that, I hope you got value out of the content here today and got a good introduction into what project services is all about, and on subsequent sessions we'll do deeper dives into the substantive areas of the solution. Thanks for spending time with us today and hope you have a great day.